I want a sandwich. Now. Oh, sandwich wench. Yo, wench. Sandwich. Now. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. Sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. Sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. Oh, sandwich wench. I want a sandwich. Sandwich. Hello everyone, welcome back to another political recap stream here on the Moisky Live channel. I hope you're having a marvellous day today. Joining me to talk about one obvious subject is Trups. Say hello, Trups.
Hello, Trups.
That was quite nice. How are you?
Very good, very good.
I just want to, just before we dive into this, I'm just going to, like, we had the intro playing and Trups says to me, "So Meg, what's a demunculaba?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, you've seen those shorts, haven't you?"
Yeah.
It's like an intrusive thought moment. Like you just said it, and I'm like, "Oh shit, he's talking Warhammer." This could be Dark Eldar stuff as well because it falls within this territory. It feels like Drukhari. It's really dark.
Look, if there's anybody who I know who will absolutely nerdgasm explain things to me,
It's the fact I've got like a
about
cherub.
Warhammer. It's you.
It's the fact it stemmed from a cherub conversation, and I have one on my table in my hand now. Actually, like I know what you're talking. It's such cancer. It's such a shitty thing for someone to write about. Honestly,
Listen, but the fact that you know all of this, like off the top of your head.
Oh
right?
yeah.
I love that because
it's terrifying. It's such. I don't know whoever wrote the canon for demunculabas. You need to be sectioned.
Well,
okay,
listen. The lead singer of Cannibal Corpse writes some absolutely sick fucking lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
However, he's also a genuinely good dude.
Oh, to be honest, most people in the genre, like, take death metal, have very like thrash metal. They're the loveliest guys on the planet. They really are. But
Yeah.
but they will.
Like, that's the same thing. You can write absolutely disgusting, heretical shit,
Yes.
and still be
Well,
okay.
I'll be honest. In the context of this is quite heretical, really, isn't it? No, I just want them tested a little, a psyche valve perhaps, just to be certain there's no risk to the public. I just want to be certain of it because it's a really dark conversation.
Oh yeah, and by the way, I should point out that not all thrash metal and death metal singers are created equal. The guy from Cannibal Corpse is a good guy, but there was also a singer who I don't remember exactly, but literally had sung the lyrics like, "There are dead bodies in my basement," and then they searched his basement, and there were in fact.
This is
bodies in his basement.
like one of the nicest guys we've seen videos of him all the time is Randy Blythe.
Yeah,
Omegon.
I see things like him and
He's
Jelly Roll.
Lovely guy.
Like those guys are absolutely,
Well, so take this.
model citizens. They don't look it when you first see them, but that's great.
2 or 3 of Lamb of God's
that
albums in America went gold for certification sales. Randy gave those to fans. He gave them away.
Lag.
Oh, okay. We haven't dropped any frames, so it's not me.
Hang on a second. I am lagging hard. Give me one moment.
No worries.
1 sec.
Graham
Lag.
McNeil is responsible. You absolute. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to give you the Demunculaba backstory. It's entirely the fault of the Iron Warriors, who decided to turn all the women, human women, on Medringard, which is the planet they took over, where they took up after the destruction of Olympia. They then found a new planet in the Eye of Terror. They took all the humans as slaves, shackled them naked, force-fed nutrients, and bloated their bodies to rather horrible proportions. And then they used morticians who used then chemicals and sorcery to alter the slaves' internal stuff and embedded their wombs with stolen Imperial Fist gene seed. Then when it was readied, an adolescent male human from the slave population was sealed within it through the use of a procedure called a reverse C-section. That's not a reverse C-section, by the way. It's called a refund. So then, some new heretics were born from that womb, but they were lacking any skin. And if they didn't, they, could then become an Astarte. You're all welcome. But because they're horribly mutated, many were flushed through the sewers to die in, the wastelands. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, I'm glad I could put you on this tangent.
By the way, if they did survive being flushed, because that's a thing, they then became a part of a hunter gang called the Unfleshed. Yeah, you're welcome. It's just, by the way, this stream was demonetized the moment he said fuck it. It's guaranteed now because of that.
Don't worry, it's all in context. Anyway, so sorry, my Discord kind of just stopped finding
No, you're fine. It's all good. Honestly, I'm happy to talk about that. The Iron Warriors. The Iron Warriors are considered to be honest, if they hadn't turned, they're the strongest legion. Why they were so willing to experiment on women like that and violate them, considering what their Primarch was really like. I mean, he treated his sister like crap in the first place, so it makes sense. But at the same time, this is just, apple far from tree thing. Nah. This is Fabius Bile territory, and Fabius Bile got it right. Eventually. Oh, what cancer. Okay, so how's Trups been this week?
I've been all right. I've been running around, doing stuff, working as usual. Yeah. We dodged quite the
storm,
destructive hurricane.
Yeah, that hit Leona, my mod wildling. For those who don't know, and so she was out. Okay? She's got yesterday. She got power back, so she's back at home in her bed. She's got internet and power back, and that's how long it was. All weekend, and obviously most of this week. No, it was hell. It cost a lot of money to deal with for her.
So many people, it hits a bit close to home, because that's where my friends live. That's where my wife's grandparents live.
I got really cross when I saw lots of videos, people on social media saying, "Well, it hit Georgia and North Carolina. That's where all the racists are." So
I was so upset.
And I was like, "Fam, this isn't karma for slavery. Because if you want to go down that path, I can tell you who sold the slaves if you really want."
Fucking Asheville, North Carolina is a yuppie fucking liberal city.
Don't use it as a reason when this happened. I know people gave Trump crap for going there and giving money away and raising money, GoFundMe, I think it was. Kamala Harris wasn't doing that. No one was talking about what he was doing that was good. They were finding ways to shit on it because, Kamala Harris isn't doing it, so we've got to crap on him for it. And I'm just sat here in a moment of need, send what you can. And I know people gave KSI and Logan Paul crap for sending Prime because of all the lawsuit stuff right now. I don't care. They sent drinks.
I had mixed opinions when I first saw it. My guttural reaction was, what an asshole. But then my follow-up is, hold on a second. This guy spent probably about 30 grand to move all of that product up into that territory. You know what? It's fine. I'm not worried about it. And I didn't say anything specifically because my guttural reaction was, fuck them.
To be honest, mine was similar because I'm like, this looks like a PR stunt, but then I'm like, actually, people need things. Send it, because if you can, why not? Oh, but send water. They don't have access to that freely. They have access to Prime.
That's not the business he has. Yeah,
they can send the Prime because they can write it off. That's easier for them to do.
We'll talk about the nutrients part.
That's
one
a
thing,
whole debate, isn't it?
Electrolytes. I don't care how how actually good for it. It's actually arguably better than Gatorade.
You don't need much electrolytes, to be honest. You know, you can put a splash of sugar in not sugar, salt in a bottle of water, and there you go, you're done. You know.
Yeah.
But I like. That's why when I tweeted it, and I got a lot of crap from some people, and I'm like, you're choosing the wrong part of this to focus on. Oh, but this no, shut up. I don't care about the lawsuit. I care people got help. Oh, but it's Prime. I don't care how sweet it is. It's help. Yeah, they need help.
That's about where I'm at.
Like, I've always sided with the humanitarian aspect. I do not care who. It's like when years ago, Ethan Ralph, I think, raised a load of money for was it St. Jude's, and it got rejected, didn't it? Do you remember?
That's so upsetting to me.
Because my view again is, I don't care where it comes from. The money could have come from Adolf Hitler. If it went for children, I don't care. I want the children to get the help.
Yeah, honestly, the fact that a charity, you know, this also brings up a lot of questions mentally about like how much are you in dire need if you are allowed or able to push away money and donations. Honestly, it makes me upset because there are people right now who are donating their time and resources in a enormous way.
Yeah.
I know there was a couple of videos that I had seen of folks who own their own helicopters who have been flying in the Appalachian Mountains to bring people stuff and to get people out, because a lot of those folks who are stuck in East Tennessee, Western North Carolina, are in locations where their roads have been destroyed, demolished, gone.
Yeah.
They can't drive out. They have to get airlifted or airdropped resources.
Yeah.
I have heard some of the most gut-wrenching, depressing stories about this. I mean, shit. My wife showed me a picture on Tuesday or Wednesday of her stepmother's house and said all of the things that my dad had when he was alive that my stepmom kept are gone.
Well, that sucks.
Dude, it's fucking rough. But that pisses me off to no end because, you know what? The people are still there. Her grandparents who are still in there, you know, they're still alive.
That's good news.
Her friends who are still there, they're still alive.
I'm glad they are, because the
Stuff
memories
can be replaced.
Yeah.
And this stuff, definitely it hurts.
Oh, yeah, it will.
Definitely it hurts.
Because you associate it to something, and that creates that emotional attachment.
But and I even told her, I was like, look, I mean, we could... First of all, it would... Yes, we could play we should have been selfish and took it for ourselves. It would have been safer with us. We could have presumed. But we would never have known that such a thing would impact an area like that as hard as it did. I mean, when I tell you that the whole back end of that apartment was like gone, I'm not exaggerating.
I saw some of the damage. I would believe you because I've seen the pictures, and that's why I think it's so important. If you're going to choose a hill to die on, don't make it the one where you say, yes, but they're racist. Again, you have a former president that actually went there to help, to raise money as well. I know there was a number like 25 million or something, and that was fact checked, I believe false, but there was a GoFundMe that was raising money that he, I believe, set up. Money is being raised to help people, and that's what matters. Yeah, you do, and that's what matters, helping. You don't use it to score your points like that, because that's again why the guy who went there won last time. Well, when he did, first time that is. Bill Murray, there was a video doing its rounds of Bill Murray saying the reason he won back in 2016 was because it was against Washington. So if you're not going to Washington going to learn your lesson, there is a chance this guy is going to do it again. And to be honest, this time I'm really not sure, but he's hitting all the right buttons. You have some that are obsessive. Go on.
They're pulling out all the stops against him. Earlier this week, I think it was yesterday or the day before, Liz Cheney.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
appeared at a rally together.
Yeah, I saw that. He's a psychopath or something. I saw that thing. Yeah, she really took a dunk on him, didn't she?
Well, what's wild is that somebody today on MSNBC was talking about how Liz was for Trump up and until January 6th. So Access Hollywood tapes, the all of the individual Supreme Court stuff. Like, this is what the MSNBC guy is going off about, right? You know, the quote unquote Muslim ban, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
She was for him for all of that
Obama
stuff, but it was only January 6th when you know, they broke ranks from the rest of them.
So that's interesting, because I'd seen someone on either MSNBC or CNN who it's a bloke, bald guy, who said he was firmly against Trump in 2020 because of what happened.
Yeah.
But he's now for Trump because of what's happened in the past 4 years. And people hated
that was somebody on MSNBC on Ari Melber's show last night, and what was on about with him was he was one of the witnesses in the immediate aftermath of the January 6th hearings.
Yeah.
And basically back then he said that January 6th was a step too far for him. And what he got right up to the line of saying during Ari's show yesterday, but didn't quite say, was that basically what he has seen over the past 3.5 years has been a larger threat. Now, this is the part where I'm paraphrasing. A larger threat to democracy than Trump and January 6th.
Well, no, he's right, because he'd also referenced the immigration problem. That was a bit, because if that is a threat to democracy, because then if you try to naturalize so many new people, then you are threatening democracy by trying to swerve it into a direction that suits you only.
Yep.
I mean, he was right. The lady who was sat to his left, our right, was laughing at that, thinking that he was in the wrong, and I'm just sat here like, but in the context of what he's talking about, he's not wrong. Like, you have people mandating vaccines, trying to enforce that mandate as well. That goes fundamentally against freedoms. Trying to curtail even more freedoms when it comes to gun rights. You had the argument about abortion, but Trump's position is very, very solid. It should be based on state choice only. And I think that was referenced in the debate as well with Vance and Walz, because Vance did point out that it's based on actually a certain set of criterias, like incest, rape, and the health of the mother.
My Discord is having a time real quick.
No worries. But these are important because it's about freedom and...
This time it's mine is green, so see if yours is going poorly. Oh, no, never mind. I lied.
Okay. For those who are listening on Spotify or Rumble, we're having technical difficulties.
I'm going to reset it one more time.
No worries, you reset and I will just talk to myself, because I like to talk to myself. Hello, chat. How are you all? I saw, Bri, you're drinking the Lagavulin 11 rum cask. Good choice. Yes, please don't forget to like the stream, guys. There's lots of you here. We are going to be talking about the debate once Trups gets back. He's here now. We are going to talk about that in a minute. I did see a rather interesting picture, actually. I saw a picture. I'm sure you saw it too. And it was the hard at work picture of Kamala. And then people went and community noted the crap out of it, because headphones weren't plugged in. She was writing on a blank bit of paper. It was a post photo thing, and it's like, that's what you're doing, while your party also bragging about how much money they're raising and spending every day. Right around the time when Trump, at the same time, is raising money for people who need the money, as opposed to campaign money.
Well, right. And the other thing is, hard at work and showing a staged photo, like, I get every president kind of needs that every once in a while.
Yeah, I get it too.
But like...
Optics, man. Optics.
Yeah, for real.
They don't get
Especially when, like, your side-by-side is dude on the ground in a disaster-stricken area, right?
Hmm. So I thought for a second you were going to say side-by-side is one person faking every accent she can bother to do depending on the group she's talking to, and a guy who claimed to have been in Tiananmen Square while also talking about his childhood riding push bikes.
Okay, well, if we want to start delving into the Tim Walz JD Vance debate, we can certainly start.
The thumbnail for this stream is literally a meme derived from John Krasinski. The staring at the camera thing, it's such a fucking good one as well.
I have that saved.
When that happened, my first thought was, I swear that's John Krasinski, and I Googled it and I was like, it's that fucking meme. I knew it. I saw it and I thought, I can't believe he did that. He looked dead at the camera. He didn't even miss the camera. He was right on it.
Oh, yeah.
It was quite funny. So, the vice president... The vice presidential debate happened recently. We have obviously missed it by a few days, but that's quite all right. I saw Twitter enjoying this a bit too much. I saw a lot crapping on Vance because he did deflect a little in certain areas. He did also get muted, which I also fundamentally disagreed with, because there was a point to that. They were wrong, and he was right to correct them, and they didn't like it. He did get some bits wrong though, and Walz was horrendous. Some did say he did really well. I'm sorry, if you think he did well, shut up. You're wrong. I watched this.
There's one thing.
Vance didn't do great either, but he at least was a bit more direct than Walz. Walz actually went off on weird tangents.
There's one thing about this debate that I quite liked. Okay.
Okay, go on.
And this is like an overall thing.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed the candor. You know, the back and forth
that was good.
That they had with one another.
Yeah.
There was a genuine, like, almost like an old school kind of politics.
Well, it was a lot more respectful.
Yes.
That I can agree with that, because I like those old debates. Even when you had like Mitt Romney and Obama, they had that, or the Mitt Romney, or any of those older debates prior to Trump, because Trump just shook the feck out of it, right?
Right, like things like when they would say things like, "I'm sure this person would agree," right? I think the governor would agree that we don't want blah blah blah. Those kinds of things, like are what I very much appreciate in it, because it shows like, okay, I'm not going to blatantly misrepresent what you are about to say.
Yeah.
This happened mainly on one side.
It did.
It was a lot of JD saying, I think, the governor and I would agree, or wouldn't say that blah, blah, blah thing, what was it? It was something like children. I think it was an issue with like children dying of like fentanyl or doing stuff.
Oh, the fentanyl discussion, yes.
Yeah, it was one of the questions about fentanyl and stuff like that. And
it's done marvelous work in San Francisco, by the way.
Yes, of course. But like those kinds of behaviors where they actually looked at each other and like had a respectful disagreement about stuff, I really enjoyed listening to that, and it made me ask the question. I'm sure some other people had the same thought: is why aren't these two at the top of the ticket?
So they probably could eventually do that. I think what interested me about that discourse is that actually led to why they both got muted in the end, because they had to finish the point, because one had said, I think Walz had spoken out of turn or made an assumption or an assertion, and it had to be corrected. So they both did have a bit of an interesting, it wasn't necessarily a disrespectful back and forth. It was like, I need to get this point across so you understand how you've just misrepresented. But the muting mic thing, I'm surprised they didn't do that as much. I don't recall them doing it much during the Harris-Trump debate.
They did not.
Because they were too busy correcting
They were at
him.
each other's throats.
Yeah, they were too busy correcting Trump anyway. I say correcting. Being pedantic.
The only time it happened in a Trump debate was the third debate against Hillary Clinton, where somebody from the audience asked each person to say something nice about the other candidate.
I remember.
In which Trump basically said she's a strong woman who knows what she wants and she's going to go and get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Hillary said something along the lines of that Trump is a smart man, and he knows the ins and outs of roads and how to get things done, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only nice thing that ever came out of a presidential debate with Donald Trump.
He knows how to. The thing with him is, though, he doesn't have to be nice in those debates. He didn't, and to be fair, he was a lot nicer in the Biden debate this time round, because he knew damn well he didn't have to say anything for Biden to mess it up. And he didn't have to with Kamala, because he knew she was going to regurgitate talking points that she had pre-written. Because she's like our Keir Starmer. Doesn't have a natural talent. She has to rely on other things to make it work. So, you watched the debate. Who do you think won?
I think JD had a much better time with the conversation, the fielding of questions. I think that he had more on message. I think he got flustered the least. I think overall his performance was overall better than Tim Walz.
Yeah. So, I've got an article here. The majority of the articles I had found did agree that while their disagreements came nearly at the end, they generally had very few clashes. Let's see. Different styles. Where are the questions? I had them here. Oh, I've lost
I have some of the. I have the whole transcript up right now.
Go on.
So, like the first one, if it wasn't demonetized, it's about to be.
It already was.
The first one was talking about Iran's attack on Israel.
Oh God, yeah, that.
Which happened, I believe, just.
Yeah, people
Monday.
queried about that. They queried why the Iron Curtain didn't do anything, and I'm like, because they didn't. Sorry, yeah, that. Sorry, I confused it with Command and Conquer. My apologies. I assumed it did because it didn't need to, and because it missed everything.
Conquer is a gem. The other thing with the Iron Dome is that it has a. If I have a window, and the window blocks things coming from one side of the window to the other, if you start spraying water from the inside of the window or over the window, I can't very well block that. It's not where the window is. So basically, the problem was that the Iron Dome has an area of effect, and these missiles did not strike that area. Thank you, MJ, for the 5 memberships.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you.
Chaos.
Nice.
So, I mean, there are reasons, but also the U.S. and Israel all shot interceptors. It's still a lot of stuff. The last time they did that in April,
right.
they had I think Jordan and the UK there too.
Really?
So I don't think this was much harder of a task. They had destroyers that were launching interceptors. They had their own interceptors, but it can only work so well. Hey guys, calm down! Stop falling off stuff. Jesus. No fighting on the cat tower.
I have a feeling that's good. I've got a new alert set up for the memberships, and apparently each one has to individually do itself. I wonder if I can mute it. I don't know if I can.
But the question was, if it's down to Governor Walz, if you're the final voice in the Situation Room, would you support or oppose a preemptive strike on by Israel on Iran?
Mm-hmm. What did he say?
And basically, the answer to both of them was no.
Yeah.
Basically, they don't want to be the guy.
I'm not surprised.
I'm looking. What did they use the money for? Yeah. So JD had gone off on talking about how how they got the money, and that it is the fault of the Biden administration for allowing money to go into Iran that allowed this kind of stuff. So he didn't really answer the question either.
Well, that happened quite a lot, because you had the discussion about January 6th, and Vance didn't really answer directly about, Trump. He instead said, focus on the future, and that on January 6th that, Biden became president and Trump left the White House. Because there's people who still think Trump instigated that whole thing, but he didn't. We all know he didn't, yet people still act like he did.
Well, not only are they acting like it, but they also just put in a new filing that basically they're trying to...
Yeah.
Well, they're really trying hammer that down.
The part where Vancer talks about housing problems and the inflation, and it's all because of undocumented migrants. In Maine, I think it was, there was a lady on Twitter. She posted a video after the debate, and she said in Maine, it's believed that 60,000 homes are being built for undocumented migrants. Yet cost of living in houses are going through the roof, and there are many people who can't get properties in the state of Maine because, and that, you know, if you can build it for them, why not for the people at home? But then that leans into the additional problem where you also saw recently people saying there wasn't enough money to help those because of the hurricane. Yet around that time there was a discussion about sending more money to Ukraine. And didn't Zelensky, he stood there with Trump, and Trump, I mean, he was very honest about dealing with Russia and stuff. And he spoke in a way I wouldn't expect him to in front of Zelensky.
I think that Zelensky quietly is hoping that Trump gets elected.
I think so, because then he ends the war. I think that's what he hopes will happen. Yeah.
Right. I think that Zelensky has been playing the part of like, oh, woe is me. Please, will the countries of the world please assist me in vanquishing this foe? Strike them from our lands. But he's been doing this for what, a year and a half?
Yeah.
2 years?
He's a belly dancer, not a war man.
At this point, I like the Trump idea, which is I would like people to stop dying.
People don't like it when he said that. I'm like, okay.
Because he wouldn't say that he wanted Russia to lose.
I would rather focus on the humanitarian aspect. I really do not want... I don't care who you are, I just don't want people to get hurt. Ironic for a No Lives Matter slogan, but that's something else.
Sure, but the instance of... There was a... I don't remember if you remember the drone video of the Russian soldier.
Yeah.
People cheered for that. And what is really dark about it is a lot of the really gung-ho Ukraine people genuinely do not see any humanity in those from Russia. And we've seen it because there was a show that was going to come out where I think one of the actresses was born in Russia and then moved at like 4 years old to Germany, and she was getting hammered for having been born a Russian, not even lived as a Russian. But because Russia, they were flaming them. Let's see here. German Russian actress. Twitter.
Don't mind Trups, everyone. He is working on this.
Yeah, don't worry about that. But the problem is that people
I've got to get rid of Doc.
think
Back in a minute.
Okay. The whole point is that people genuinely see Russians as evil people. Like all Russians. It doesn't matter if you're babushka and you're making your food, for kids in your neighborhood. No, that does not matter. Russia, because the people support Putin or don't support Putin, because they are complicit in allowing this kind of thing to happen, or if they're in the army and they follow orders like any army person would in any country, they are calling them all evil. Now, yes, I understand. Don't before somebody says just following orders is not a good example. I know, but there's a difference between, hey, we're gonna go take this region, and hey, go take that region. Also, close your eyes because we're about to do Vietnam on this village.
I'm back.
Hey, there's a difference between following orders as a Russian soldier and, quote unquote, following orders as a Russian soldier, right? When people take advantage of their situation of being an invading force, yeah, it's disgusting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just a soldier and you're just doing like a bare minimum to get by and do your job, they're still people. But no, just because they are from Russia does not make them evil, but a lot of people do see them that way. So when Trump refuses to say, I want Russia to lose this war, they're not really upset because he didn't say he wanted Russia to lose. I think it's because he showed humanity to Russian soldiers. because he wants both Russians and Ukrainians to stop dying. And a lot of people on Twitter definitely want to keep seeing Russians dying.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, basically, the psychopathic left, which, by the way, is part of the reason why I think that we have Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney supporting Kamala.
He's still alive,
Right.
is he?
Yeah,
I thought Dick Cheney died. My mistake.
he gave a endorsement.
It's just I forgot. I thought he died. That's all it is. By the way, if
I know
anyone
he
can hear my
retired.
dog in the background, my dog Senile is just barking at the air. Sorry.
He's still alive. But no, he gave an endorsement of Kamala. But if you really want to know, probably what's behind that is because currently we have Iran, who is aggressing into Israel. We have people like John McCain and old guard Republicans who, as far as anybody remembers, were war hawks. Let's not forget what happened during the Bush administration. We invaded like 3 countries. Like Iraq, Afghanistan. like we went there, okay?
Well, somebody had said if we kept Saddam alive and just kept giving him money, there wouldn't be as many problems over there right now.
I agree.
That was on Joe
This
Rogan,
is-
I believe.
This is true for a lot of the Western-styled dictators of the Middle East. Egypt was like that too.
Yes. Egypt's looking great these days.
So
should
is Syria.
Oh, well, yes, Bashir Assad is quite the treasure. Should we carry on with the debate?
Yes.
Because I want to get to the Tiananmen Square quote.
Yes. We can just skip down to that. That was so. At certain points, the CBS moderators did in fact hold Tim Walz to some sort of account.
He claimed that he was in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square protest in 1989, but a report conclusively stated he was nowhere near there. So he decided to filibuster by talking about his upbringing and rise in electoral politics.
Yeah. Yeah. For all points. Here's a verbatim. We have a lot to get to ahead, gentlemen, on many topics, but right now I want to talk about personal qualifications. The Vice President is often the last voice the President hears before making consequential decisions. We want to ask you about your leadership qualities. Governor Walz, you said that you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protest in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy? You have 2 minutes.
I can before him. He was the guy in front of the tank, and the reason that no one knows who that guy is, they never saw him again. It was Tim Walz the whole time. Yeah, that was him.
I thought that Tim Walz was the one driving the tank.
Yeah, that's even better. I like that one, actually.
But his response is, yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in a small rural Nebraska town of 400, a town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights came on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher. Passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. And then he just starts to kind of flounder. He never answers the question.
No, in this one, in this one he couldn't. He did say knucklehead was like a word he had used. I know because I remember that one quite clearly. It's just a weird one. But apparently he had said misspoke. But I'll be honest, misspoke is another word for that. In our country, we can't call our politicians this because if you say it in Parliament, that's bringing the MP into disrepute. It's called lie, yes. Okay.
Can we change that rule? Because I think we have it here too. I would
don't
really like it if we could get that
if you can prove someone has 100% told a lie, you should be allowed to, with the evidence in hand, declare that person a liar. In my country, if you do that, you are removed from the Commons if you do not withdraw the remarks. And I don't agree with that in the slightest. I think if you've lied, and it can be proven, and it's not one of those debates over absolute and relative, a straight-up lie, you should be removed from the room entirely.
I mean, like, we had plenty of those instances. Every time that we had a COVID, person who got away with doing XYZ, what was the guy's name who was cheating on his wife in the back room?
Oh God, hang on, is that the GTA streamer?
No, his name is also like very, very appropriate for what he was doing.
I can't remember.
But anyway, he was caught on film basically hooking up with some person, and that would be one of those instances where before any of it came out, I would ask him, "Hey, did you break protocol by any chance?" He would go, "No." And I'll go, "In this rare occurrence, I'm going to call you a liar because here."
See, I think if you should be allowed to call someone a liar. Simple as that. And if you protect politicians or give them that kind of protection, they cannot be held accountable. I don't like that. Okay, so the one debate that I found quite interesting, where you did get straight...
Hancock! It was Matt Hancock!
Oh, during COVID, you're right. I completely zoned out for a second. I'm so sorry. Yes, Matt Hancock. His name is appropriate, yes. You're right. The one area of the debate, I thought they were both very firm on their positions because it showed who thought more of little government, who thought of big government, but who had a clear answer. Both did, actually. Abortion. Whether it's a state's right or a human right. Vance, state, Walz, human. Although, to be honest, Walz's human rights argument was more based on bigger government dictating this, which I can't agree with because it's a massive government. I can't. It has to be state. What are your thoughts on that part?
Now which part of this?
The abortion debate.
You were cutting out. Oh,
the
abortion debate has always been a states' rights problem.
Roe v. Wade kind of made it a federal thing for a while, though, didn't it?
Yes, it did, and that was why. And this is part of the lies of how the left wants to push things. So, if let's say remove it from Donald Trump and remove her things, right? We have a court precedent that said that abortion was allowed nationally, right? We took that away because it was bad law.
Mm-hmm.
And we never said that we wanted to institute a ban on the national level.
Mm-hmm.
We have repeatedly said we want to push it back to the states, for the states to decide.
So that's...
Yet somehow,
go on.
This means national ban.
Mm-hmm. So...
and I don't know where that came from.
Or
I don't know how they can rationalize that.
J.D. Vance had said, we have a big country, it's diverse, California has a different viewpoint on this than Georgia. The states... Walz had said, the states will decide what's right for Texas, might not be for Washington. That's not how this works. This is basic human rights. We have seen maternal mortality skyrocket in Texas since restrictions went into effect, outpacing many accounts in the world. Now, you can't account for what's going on in Texas because, to be honest, I don't know what's going on in Texas right now with this. It still, though, should not be a federal decision over how the state handles it. The state needs to address it themselves. You cannot, you can't bully Texas. Don't try it. Don't try to speak for them. But you actually make a point here. The states will decide what's right for Texas. Might not be right for Washington. Now the thing is, that is true because the cultural differences are so vast. That applies also when Vance mentioned California and Georgia. Although, to be honest, California, one of the longest, it has so many different cultures within it as well. They also may not support the abortion. I mean, they've got a thing right now where they just banned voter ID, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
That was hilarious. I'm like, okay, all right, your elections are something.
Oh my god. See, yeah, you want to talk about like let's make a national law about something, right?
Yeah.
To vote in federal elections, you need to have a nationally recognized ID. That can be a state-issued driver's license.
If you want to fuck up your state elections by not having it so that, people, anyone can vote in it, basically, go ahead. On a national level, like republic size, all the states involved, no, it should be those who are naturalized citizens of your country. Republic.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. So this is quite a contentious and very, very like in the weeds type of argument right now. Okay. So, conversation about Springfield, Ohio, and the Haitian migrants, right?
That was brought up in the debate.
We'll call them. I'm sorry.
That was in the debate as well.
It was, but this is kind of an offshoot. It wasn't part of the question.
Oh, cool.
Well, actually, it was. It was actually. This was actually what got JD Vance muted.
It did, yeah.
So, the Haitian migrants to Springfield, Ohio, are here legally under what is considered TPS, temporary protective status. Okay, it was using the TPS program that basically gave them what is essentially a temporary green card to exist within a certain community up until a certain point. Okay, but that is a lot of, and at some point, the temporary protective status will be removed, and they will no longer be temporary, right?
Yeah.
They want to move all those TPS people who are here legally, technically, into having the ability to vote in our national elections. This should not be allowed, and these do not count as naturalized citizens because they did not go through the naturalization process. So right now, we are playing a semantic game when we are discussing aliens in this country. And not many people care to find out what those differences are. JD wanted to explain that.
I think so. It's important. It's an important thing to explain, and it did get Walz more animated as well when he wasn't, talking out of his arsehole about his experiences in Tiananmen Square. Mm-hmm. I think it's important.
So basically, if we look at what they had said, it was talking about the border.
Yeah.
And let's see here. What's her face? The I forget who MB is. Margaret. Just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status, NORA. JD says, "Well, Margaret, I think it's important because, and JD says, Margaret, the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP1 app, where you can go as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum, and apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card, and waiting 10 years, and then he got cut off. That is the facilitation of the illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership, and Kamala Harris opened that pathway."
So
Margaret says, "Thank you for describing the legal process."
There was a thing about afterwards where the person who did cut mute them, they got super defensive with them, and they were talking about that moment, and they were talking about mansplaining and the patronizing language used by JD Vance. It's not that. If you want to go defensive, if you want to go defensive with the feminism, the lipstick feminism, to be honest, at this point, right, you can, but you look like an absolute loser because you can't handle the fact that you had to mute somebody for correcting you. Like, your pride couldn't be shelved long enough to allow him to finish the point of correcting you when you were in the wrong. And you were in the wrong. The fact, and by the way, him actually explaining that before he got cut off is vitally important because it actually did prove his point of how absolutely pathetic that was.
I made a post about this, about Hispanics, right?
Being one yourself?
Yes, correct. And whose grandmother and father, separate sides of the family, were legal immigrants. Okay? So, the reason why
Mm-hmm.
Hispanics genuinely, or generally rather, lean right is because the left seems to believe that immigration is the catch-all thing for Hispanics and Latinos. That all of us are concerned that if the red get in office, then all of us are going to be deported. No, we won't. Because some of us have been here for generations. Like, I am not worried in the slightest if Donald Trump gets elected that my father is going to be deported. Not a chance in hell. I'm not worried that my grandmother, in her mid to late 80s, is going to be deported.
Mm-hmm.
What I am worried about is the fact that they believe that all of us are illegal, or that we know somebody who is illegal. Typically, the ones who have done this process, who have sat through the arduous and annoying process to apply for a green card, get accepted, go through the process, take the citizenship exam, move to the country, start a brand new life in, at that time, not a very, very welcoming time, but even so now, these people do not necessarily like the fact that people are getting in for free. It's very much I had to work for this shit. Why is that asshole getting in for free? He's breaking the law. He should get screwed over. I did everything right. If that's the case, I should have done this that way, and I would have been set, apparently. It's a lot of very, very angry, kind of bitterness towards the people who are allowing this kind of thing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they're all surprised that Hispanics are leading or giving Trump a boost, it is because they keep talking about immigration like it's everything to us. Wait, I'm reading the chat. Psycho Magus says, my mother has such TDS that she believes she will be deported if Trump is elected, and we aren't even close to being Hispanic. What are you?
Probably.
Are you? Is your family from another country?
Maybe they come from England and they like to wear red coats still.
I guess, but the thing is, if you're here illegally, I don't care if you're Hispanic or European or African or Asian. Get the fuck out.
Right now, the biggest concern in your country, first of all, is the immigration problem, because that is causing a huge amount of money to be spent, which in turn means that money can't go to those who have been affected by that hurricane, while also giving shitloads of money to Zelensky still. Your fingers and ears over the real problem. And don't forget here, when that was going on, I'm sorry, Biden was literally asked about a massive storm in North Carolina that killed hundreds of people. He responded by saying that they are very happy. And he also had said that when he's speaking about Kamala Harris, we're singing on the same song sheet. She helped pass all the laws. And I'm saying, what laws? Your Build Back Better plan didn't get through. In fact, you've got nothing through of note in 4 years. The only thing Biden can have on his legacy is that he didn't get defeated. He was just pushed out because he wasn't going to win this election, and everyone knows it. Right now, by the way, there's a tweet, and it has been fact checked, and some are saying it's not true. That there is FAA throttling flights to stop people from getting access to Starlinks. There are some that work for the Biden administration. Secretary Pete, I think it is, or something. He had said that's not true.
Buttigieg.
It's not true. He believes that because Elon Musk had tweeted that out. Because if there was some truth to that, that is again adding to the list of things that make this look incredibly dishonest, incredibly poorly handled. This isn't overly when you get told by, which one was it? It was the feds. No money left for hurricanes after spending 1.4 billion on immigrants.
FEMA, because they had spent in the during the Biden administration, they had spent a lot of money, I think closer to $1 billion, just in housing and food benefits for the migrants they were shipping in.
Yeah. I'm no offense intended here, but I know how much it costs. Some, like, I think Leona had mentioned she spent a fair bit because of this hurricane problem, and they're not being given much in the way of help. But there is an option, I know, with the there are some options for small, compensation assistance, but at the same time, you actually have to help your people if you want them to vote. But I'm guessing the reason they're not willing to help North Carolina and Georgia is because they're not going to vote for them.
Well, I think it's very, very, very dangerous to play that game because Georgia, they keep saying will go blue, but Atlanta was hard hit, and
Georgia did go blue last time, didn't it?
It did. They should really make sure that it stays that way.
Well, apparently they don't think it will because they're not offering much help to Georgia, are they?
No, they're not. But North Carolina is, well, let's just put it this way. I have a bunch of friends. One of them had their house cleaved in two by a tree. They were not there. They were evacuated.
I'm glad they were evacuated. That's fantastic.
Yep, their dog and their kid all safe and sound, but their kid's bedroom was outside now.
That's unfortunate.
I bet you that this may, we'll say the word radicalize for fun. This may radicalize them a little bit more right than normal. And they are very, very left-leaning. I mean, they are damn near anarchists. So we'll see how much they appreciate this current administration as they, seek to rebuild their house.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't play out in their favor, they're going to find that the people who are going to help them out the most are going to be their friends, their neighbors, not the government. And you should not expect the government to be able to help you.
So that's where I still support small government. But if you are unironically going to champion big government, so this one, right, you need to back that and not just think that the only way you can be a big government is helping those around the world and not yourselves. Because you should put your people first every single time.
Kamala Harris made that comment, actually side by side with one another.
You're kidding.
At the Liz Cheney rally that she had in Wisconsin, she talked about how she wants to, help, the people of this country, especially, through the hurricane and all this other stuff. And, we will shore up our own people.
Uh-huh.
And then she pivots into, but we will also shore up our global presence. And I'm like, no! Shut up! Yeah. Once we have our people handled, then we can look at other people. Clean your own fucking room before you go and tell other people how to live.
You actually mentioned that. There's a I've mentioned it before, because we've discussed the world police thing, haven't we? Yeah.
Yes, we have.
And this always crops up. And recently, Javier Milei of Argentina verbatim copied a speech from the West Wing. Now, his press secretary is actually a huge fan of the West Wing, so I think I know why he said this. But the quote is, it's from the president of the US in the show. He said, "We are for freedom of speech everywhere. We are for freedom of religion everywhere. We are for freedom to learn for everyone. And since in our time you can build a bomb in our country, your country, and bring it to mine, what happens in your country is my business. So we are free for freedom from tyranny everywhere, whether it comes in the guise of political oppression," and carries on with diplomatically, economically, materially, how, if you don't abide this, and you'll meet my cavalry and all that. Milei copied that to an extent, but the thing is, you can be the world's police in that context, because that's vitally important to make sure that if you're bringing values that run counter to my values, problem is, right now you don't have a government or people on one side who champion that. They instead want just anyone to make up the numbers because they'll be grateful and vote for you. Right now, though, they're causing more problems than good. And it's not cultural enrichment, is it? It's straight up invasion. Sorry, but I support immigration, but not like this.
Well, you guys have it, especially in the UK, and I know that, we've talked about this several times over. The UK, Ireland,
Yeah, we had a laugh about Ireland. Bloody hell, they do know how to fight back.
I don't know how's Scotland doing.
They're too busy sucking each other off.
I know France is suffering as well.
Yes, well, France will bloody well learn its lesson with this since they've just had an election, and they yet again chose to stab themselves in the back. How bad is your own white guilt that you can't accept you have a problem? Look what happened to Sweden. Look what happened to Sweden. You stabbed yourselves in the back because your stupid, weird proportionate representation thing. I agree. By the way, if you're going to do... I agree with the election system I have in my country, but I understand why Reform wants to have proportionate representation instead. I can understand that because they got the third highest voter turnout. I fully understand it. But I also prefer my system in that respect. In France, it is the proportionate part, and I think it's really bad because of how it completely screwed over the party that should have won. And Macron can barely get anything through anyway now, so he's essentially a lame duck president. In Germany, you've got someone who's AfD, far right, in was it Bavaria? Yempi, who was the guy in AfD guy who won recently? Yeah, that. Wait, what did I get an alert for? Oh no, it's delay on one end. It's fine. It's interesting if you're gonna.
MP, are you talking about? Like you said, who won? I don't remember who you're talking about in Germany.
Yempi's German. In my chat.
Yeah, I don't remember which one, but I know that they were talking about like, oh my god, Germany is going to be right wing now.
Yeah, because somebody had recently won a local election thing.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was specifically, but
that's the
thing. Germany
These
is also coming around to understand.
I'm not against, by the way, if you're going to be right leaning or left leaning, but if you're going to be left leaning and champion these stupid open borders at all costs kind of views, you need to accept you're going to hurt your people.
Yeah.
Like, you actually have to accept that. If you can't understand that, it's because you're so blind to the vast different... Again, Sweden is a great example of it. Sweden's culture has been decimated.
Yes, it has.
I'm sorry, but
and
they weren't ready for that.
Because Sweden was actually a very nice country once.
Their women were hot. But in America, it's a similar problem because where people are coming in and going, they're going to states that don't want them there in the first place, and then when they go to the states who vote for this kind of crap in the first place, they're like, well, we don't want them here either. It's like,
right,
make this make sense. I'll clap for that, you know.
Well, the thing is that they're doing it's literally platitudes, right? But I think there's also an insidious thing that borders on conspiracy.
It's virtue signal with consequence that they refuse to accept.
Well, the conspiracy that I'm referencing is the attempt to naturalize these 10 million. You know what I mean? To make them voters.
I think it's amusing they think they'll all vote blue. Or vote at all, just to be clear. Because
I mean, they're going to vote blue because those are the people who did the handout, right?
You'd think that. I would think there's some truth to that, but I think there's a chance that they won't bother, because don't forget here, voter turnout isn't great.
Yeah, but the threat of, hey, you like being here?
Which state, though?
Well,
and don't forget, the state can kick them out. If it's a red state, they're going to be like, no, you can get the fuck out. We don't want you here.
One of the most interesting things is, like, having the discussion between Springfield, Ohio, and like, Miami, Florida, right? Florida has a huge Haitian population. Louisiana, huge Haitian population. We don't hear about those Haitians. You know why?
Why?
Because they brought their culture and turned it into an American culture. Right?
It's because of a term, a very popular term that has lost virtually all meaning now. Simply called...
What would that be, Meg?
The American Dream.
Ah.
Because some actually want... don't forget, I wanted to go to live in America. I wanted to live in your country. Because I wanted, not necessarily the American dream, but I wanted to live a better quality of life back then. I wanted a bigger house. I wanted to drive a nice car. I wanted to have a decent job. You know. I had a better chance there because I felt... Because I have a cousin that's also fairly well spoken, I thought, ooh, my voice might open a door. You never know. But that was like...
It definitely would, actually.
15 years ago that was, though, so I sounded a little softer on the vocals then. But it was the American dream that inspired me, because at that point I felt it still existed. I don't believe it does anymore.
I think it does. there were some people in Springfield who got interviewed by a YouTuber who went in to kind of look at like man on the street kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, they're just young men, just doing their thing.
Yeah.
And there's a difference. There's a very clear difference between the folks who just want to, move along to get along kind of folks, and then there are the people who cause issues, right? Yeah. If you're looking at a guy who's, he's wearing Nikes, he's got headphones on, doing his job, probably not an issue. He can probably, maintain his TPS status. The problem is that it's so hard to find out who these people are. And in such a large amount of people, like you have 10 million people who were added to this country somewhere. So we are expected to be able to pick out the bad ones from everyone else. And that's really hard because the larger the number gets, hello, beep. The harder it will get to be able to determine, who actually can be a decent citizen in America. And this isn't necessarily a race thing either, because I know that the Democrats like to play this game. I don't give a shit what color you are. If you bring chaos from your country to my country, I'm going to be upset with you.
As you should be.
If you come to this country and go, all right, boss, what do you want from me?
Don't be like France. Don't put your fingers in your ears and go, you know what, let them have their fun. We deserve to suffer a little bit. Don't be like France or Sweden or the United Kingdom or Germany or Ireland for a while, or Scotland, because they've still yet to learn their lesson. A number of very metropolitan blue states, yes. Since we're running a bit low on time, actually, final thoughts on the debate.
I think that the funniest thing that Tim Walz said was that he befriended school shooters.
Are we here next week, Trups?
Why, yes, we are.
Marvellous. We'll grift it up like there's no tomorrow to try and earn back what we didn't make on this stream. Kidding.
Oh my God,
I'm kidding.
I lost it again.
You're all good. Thank you for being here, guys. This will be uploaded to Spotify.
Discord sucks.
It does indeed.
Today.
We'll be back next week. Thank you for being here, guys. We really appreciate it. Say goodnight, Trups. He said goodnight, everyone. Don't worry. No? Okay.